Hello and welcome to this review of Scream, the recent requel, let's say remake slash sequel, as suggested the term by this movie, of Scream, Wes Craven's Scream. Now, I really, really like the original film, and I enjoy the sequels. I haven't seen Scream 4, that's the one I missed, but I have definitely seen Scream 2 and 3. Scream 2 I thought was really good. Scream 3, I barely remember it, but I think I have reviewed it before, so I will include the review somewhere on this website at some point, if I can find it. But I really liked Wes Craven's kind of mix of legitimate kind of like slasher horror, with its good share of clever jump scares and stuff, and comedy and satire of the whole genre itself. I thought, a lot of movies tried to do that, before, and it didn't really work, and then he just kind of nailed it, and then movies tried to do the same thing after that, and again, it didn't always work. You had some good ones like Final Destination, for example, but those were kind of few and far between. But like I said, I enjoyed the sequels that I saw, and I was kind of hyped for this movie. I was like, this is a good franchise to get a reboot for, because this franchise is all about poking fun at the horror genre whilst being kind of scary itself. And there's a lot you can make fun of in terms of reboots, right? Like the very title, Scream, the fact that they just called it that, hinted to me that they were going to make fun of the genre. But I was kind of scared that they were going to play it straight in this movie. You get a bit of that, but we'll get to it. So this movie is not directed by Wes Craven, unfortunately. He passed away a few years ago. So it has it's got a different vibe to it, but I thought the director and the writers did a good job at trying to recapture this kind of 90s vibe of the first movie. They actually do a really good job. Well, yeah, this kind of 90s, like early 2000s vibe of the originals. Just purely, the cinematography, the way the characters talk, the characters themselves, it just really felt like it had the right vibe. Like this movie really did a good job at capturing the Scream vibe. Like the opening scene is a kind of remake of the scene with Drew Barrymore, right? In the very first movie, where this girl is alone in her big house, and she is kind of stalked on the phone by this weird voice asking her about horror movies and stuff like that. And it's got a different kind of approach here, but it's essentially very similar kind of scene, and it's done so on purpose, of course, because the person on the phone is trying to, do the same thing that happens in the Scream movie, which the Scream movies, if you don't know, are called Stab. They're called the Stab movies in the Scream universe, okay? So he's kind of trying to do the same thing he saw in the movie Stab, which is based on real events, to do with Neve Campbell's character, Sydney, who is also in this movie. Don't worry, we'll get to that. So this girl who's all alone in her apartment, the only thing that's kind of different, I guess, than the original, is you've got the house security. It's the locks go on and off, at the tap of a button. You've got phones, of course, where she's looking at her text, like she's getting weird texts, and then she can see video at one point. That's kind of a critical thing where she thinks her friend is being stalked by the person that's on the phone with her, and it creates a dilemma, etc. So this scene is pretty well done. Like, it didn't really blow me away or anything, but it seemed like a decent kind of and alternative way of doing the scene from the first movie again, and just kind of setting things up nicely for all these new characters to approach this new mystery. Because after that, with all the Scream movies, you get this kind of whodunit kind of scenario, and that's one aspect of the Scream movies I really enjoy, is the whodunit aspect. Like you've got all these different suspects. Everyone is pretty much a suspect. Everyone's kind of twisted in their own way and has a motive, and that could be doing all this. So you're introduced to all the different characters. You've got the sister of the girl who is now in hospital. The girl survives. The girl from the first scene survives. She ends up in hospital. So you've got the sister who's not getting along with her at all. You've got the sister's boyfriend, played by Jack Quaid, who's great in this movie. He's great pretty much in everything. Like, I really enjoy pretty much every character I've ever seen him play, like in The Boys and stuff. Then you've got like Wes, named obviously after Wes Craven, and you've got other characters. I'm sure you've got like a couple, and you've got the nerdy girl who is. They're trying to reintroduce a kind of nerdy movie buff character. It was kind of tragic when the movie buff character initially died in the Scream franchise. That actually blew me away. Like, I didn't think they would ever get rid of that character, but wow, they had the balls to do that, and I was just kind of shocked when that happened back in the day. But yeah, in this movie they try to reintroduce a nerdy character of that type, and they're not completely convincing. It's a little bit too on the nose, but they're a useful character to have because they kind of point out, in this kind of scenario, who would be next, who are the prime suspects here, etc., etc. And yeah, they're kind of a fun character just to have around, because I think the franchise realized, you know what, we made a mistake killing off the movie buff character, because after that it became a little bit more challenging to kind of point out that, the satirical aspects of the horror genre. So what happens is, obviously, the sister of the girl who got hurt at the very beginning is trying to hunt down people to help figure out who this killer could be and how to stop him. So she goes to the cop, played by David Arquette from the old movies, who doesn't want to help, but then obviously he changes his mind, and then they kind of gather the team together over time. Like, you've got Neve Campbell as Sydney, shows up later. Courteney Cox comes back as well. Yeah. So you've got the kind of sort of team back together, and like the nerdy character is like, well, technically the first one to go would be the legacy characters, which is David Arquette. She says that to his face. It's just like, dude. Like she flat out tells him, you know what, a legacy character will have to die in this movie. It's the reboot. That's how it works. And I just really enjoyed many aspects of this movie, more aspects than I thought I was gonna like. I usually flat out hate these horror remakes or reboots or whatever. Every so often there's one where I'm like, you know what, that wasn't bad. Like Fright Night I thought was pretty good. This movie kind of had me going for a little while. Like, I was into it. I was into this movie for a while just because of the whole vibe of it. The script was pretty sharp, like sharper than I thought. It was very much lacking in the scares department. Like, there was really nothing that scary going on. However, they made up for that by being very clever with it. And there's a whole sequence with Wes, the character Wes, where he's, he's being stalked by Ghostface, right? And he's gonna jump out of somewhere. That Ghostface is gonna jump out of somewhere. And the movie teases you time and time again with Wes opening a door, and then you think as soon as he closes the door, Ghostface is gonna be there, but he isn't. Like, they keep tricking you like this. It's not like a new thing, but it's done well, and it's a clever idea, and it's it's just funny. It's just funny. Like, this movie manages to be funny. The script is sharp, like I said, and you've got some great characters there that really feel like they belong in these movies. Like, the whole Scream vibe is definitely there. The look is definitely there. Unfortunately, in the second half of the film, things kind of crumble a little bit, little by little. I don't think Courteney Cox is very good in this movie. I would have honestly not bothered getting her back for this one. I just think she's, like, if they were going to kill someone off, I would have probably gone with that character, because she's just not interesting in this film. She's just flat out not interesting. Courteney Cox as well just doesn't really deliver a good performance. Whereas David Arquette was actually kind of very likable from the beginning in this movie. I would have gone the other way. I would have kept David Arquette and just got rid of Courteney Cox, but they didn't do that. Courteney Cox gets some cringy one-liners by the end. She's not great. She's not great in this movie. Neve Campbell, a little better. But again, like, she also gets some cringy one-liners. Like, the end of this movie, It's weird because I wasn't feeling the end of the original Scream movie the first time I saw it. The first time I saw it, I didn't really realize that it was meant to be like that satirical. So when the first movie ended, I was just like, this is just very silly. And it was. Like, it's very silly, right? The end of the first movie. But in this movie, the way it's done is not so much that it's silly and funny in that way. It's just kind of clumsy. It just came off as clumsy the way they did the ending in this movie. Like, the third act kind of shits the bed a little bit, unfortunately, in this movie. So by the end, I was kind of disappointed. But for the whole ride up to the reveal of who did it is quite good. Like, it's honestly quite good. There's also this thing they do in this movie where the sister of the girl who gets attacked at the beginning, she is having visions of her father, who is the killer from the first movie. And that, I thought that was going to be kind of lame, but it was actually kind of well done, and I actually dug the way they did it. Like, it worked. It worked for me. And it kind of leaves things open for potential, sequels that go a weird way with it. But yeah, this movie is a little bit uneven, okay? I think it has a lot of good stuff in it. It has definitely a lot of good stuff in it. And it's worthy of, one of the Scream sequels, I would say. But if you compare it to the original, it's just not... No, it's just not on the same level. But it is a decent sequel. I'll say that. It could have been better had the third act and a few things had been moved around here and there. If those had been stronger... like if the scares themselves had been stronger, because the first movie, say what you will about the first movie, it's mostly a comedy, but it has scary moments. Like it's got some solid jump scares in that movie. This movie maybe like one or two, but it could have done with a few more punchy scares. Also, there's a character who's basically plays the same character in that Tarantino movie, which is and ends up the same way as well. So it's a little bit odd. Like, it just, there's a character who's like this goth girl who is, anyway, she's not a very unique character. Kind of, I was kind of into that character at the beginning, but then by the end I was just, kind of lame. And also the whodunit is very obvious. Very obvious. It's not, you're not going to guess everything necessarily, but it's, part of it is very, very obvious. So what can I say? I would say if you like the Scream movies, check it out. It's not that bad. Like, it's got some good parts to it. It's got a lot of strong elements to it, I would say. It's also quite clumsy, especially towards the end. So, you're going to feel underwhelmed a little bit by the end, but the ride up to that point is pretty solid. Like, I genuinely enjoyed most of this movie, I would say. So, I don't know if it's the kind of movie I'd watch again. I don't know if I liked it enough to do that. But, it surprised me. I thought it was going to be just it was either going to be, like, really, really good, or it was going to be, like, a cash-in, and that doesn't even try, Like that Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, which I talk about somewhere else on this website. Check it out. But, no, it actually, they did try, really hard to do something good here, and it sort of worked. Sort of, but not quite, but sort of. Enough that I can respect, definitely the effort here. It's not even the best sequel, let's be real. Like, I haven't seen the fourth movie. I heard that was pretty bad. So this is probably, if the fourth movie is really bad, this is probably a return to form for the franchise. I wouldn't be surprised. But I still, prefer like 2 and 3. I would say, to this movie. Maybe this one's on par with 3. I barely remember 3, so I think I'll at least remember this movie a bit more than 3. So there's that. So not a bad movie, not a good movie either. It's just kind of okay. It's an okay film. Like, it's for a sequel for the 5th movie in the franchise, it's okay. And if you really hated the movie before, like if Scream 4 was really bad, give this movie a go. It'll surprise you. There's some good stuff in it. There's definitely some good stuff in it. Thank you for watching. See you guys later.